Luis Suarez. This energetic forward turned dental assault into his personal trademark across 3 different continents, creating a legacy that's as horrifying as it is bizarre. It started in Holland when Suarez bit PSV Eindhoven's Otman Bakel during an Ajax match in 2010, earning him a 7-game suspension. The football world dismissed it as isolated madness. They were catastrophically wrong. 2 years later at Liverpool, Suarez latched onto Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic's arm during a Premier League match. The high-definition footage was crystal clear, a professional footballer casually munching on his opponent before walking away. Ivanovic's bewildered expression captured everyone's reaction. Who does this? Suarez ended up with a 10-game ban. The 2014 World Cup incident elevated Suarez to global infamy. With hundreds of millions watching Uruguay play Italy, Suarez bit Giorgio Chiellini's shoulder so hard it left visible teeth marks. Chiellini immediately pulled down his shirt to show the referee physical evidence. Suarez's explanation was a masterpiece of gaslighting. "I lost my balance and my teeth accidentally made contact," he claimed, trying to convince the planet that biting someone was merely an unfortunate physics accident. FIFA banned him for 4 months from all football activities, the most severe punishment in World Cup history for an on-field incident. Barcelona signed him immediately after for £75 million, making Suarez officially the most expensive biter in football history. Doing a Suarez became shorthand for complete professional breakdown, and youth coaches worldwide now include no biting in basic rules. Did you think Suarez had had his last meal? At age 38, now playing for Inter Miami alongside Lionel Messi, Suarez proved that even a retirement league couldn't tame his hunt for human flesh. During a 2025 match against Chicago Fire, he was caught on camera biting Jordi Alba, his own teammate. After decades of international incidents, world-class suspensions and global condemnation, Suarez decided the ultimate challenge was expanding his menu to include his friends. This man turned cannibalism into a career strategy and somehow convinced the world's biggest clubs to pay him millions for the privilege.
Mauro Icardi. When personal relationships become public entertainment, creating football's most twisted soap opera that made reality TV look subtle. The Wanda Nara betrayal wasn't just opportunistic, it was a decade-long psychological operation. When Icardi was 12, he asked Maxi Lopez for an autograph. 7 years later, at age 20, he'd stolen Lopez's wife in history's slowest, most devastating con. But Icardi's weirdness started early. During his La Masia days, he made a slingshot, killed a pigeon in the park, then cooked and ate it in front of his shocked teammate Sergi Gomez. His roommates watched in horror as he casually consumed the bird like it was a normal meal at Barcelona's youth academy. Icardi elevated pettiness to psychological warfare with Lopez. Within weeks of dating Wanda, he had her name tattooed on his body. Because nothing says temporary fling like permanent ink. He regularly posted photos of Lopez's 3 children without permission, then got the kids tattooed on his arm like he was claiming ownership. This wasn't just stealing a man's wife, this was annexing his entire family with photographic evidence and permanent ink. The autobiography incident represents peak Icardi chaos. In his book Sempre Avanti, he bragged about confronting Inter Milan ultras, claiming he'd bring 100 criminals from Argentina who will kill them on the spot. Fans responded with banners calling him a piece of and cheered when he missed penalties. His divorce from Wanda became a masterclass in public humiliation. She demanded €500,000 per month in support, leaked their private text messages where he begged for reconciliation, then put him on social media trial with Instagram polls asking her 15.5 million followers to vote on his behavior. The ultimate power move. She leaked an explicit video of them together as revenge, forcing Icardi to sue his own ex-wife. At Galatasaray, chaos remained his constant companion. In 2025, while navigating through Istanbul with his new girlfriend China Suarez and her children, Icardi headbutted a fan who got too close at the airport. One wonders if that knock to the head finally jarred some sense into him, or if the impact only scrambled his circuits further. With Mauro Icardi, only time will tell. Mario Balotelli. He performed experimental chaos both on and off the pitch. This Italian madman elevated unpredictability to an art form, creating moments so bizarre they defied belief. The signs were there from the beginning. At his first club, Lumezzane, teenage Balotelli established his reputation by urinating on teammates' bags, clean clothes, and sometimes the players themselves. Former teammate Marco Pedretti reluctantly admitted, "It's true that he would pee on our bags containing our clean clothes, and he would pee on people too." This wasn't occasional misbehaviour, it was systematic chaos. But Manchester City witnessed Balotelli reach his chaotic peak. His most infamous domestic incident involved fireworks exploding in his bathroom, causing £400,000 in damage. According to Balotelli, his friend lit them while he was outside, but when firefighters arrived, they found a mansion transformed into a war zone. The next day, he scored against Manchester United and revealed his "Why Always Me" shirt, creating chaos while appearing genuinely surprised by the attention it received. If you assume a grown man can dress himself, meet Mauro Balotelli. Video footage showed him genuinely struggling to put on a training bib, requiring teammate assistance. This wasn't embarrassment, it was a recurring condition. Even after transferring to Liverpool, he continued having the same problem, becoming an instant source of ridicule. Teammate Edin Dzeko found it so hilarious he openly mocked Balotelli's vest struggles during warm-ups. The John Lewis shopping disaster deserves its own documentary. His mother sent him to buy cleaning supplies, an iron, ironing board and mop. After disappearing for 5 hours, Mario returned, followed by a delivery van containing none of the requested items. Instead, a giant trampoline, scale-extric racing set, 2 Vespa scooters, and a table tennis set. His fuming mother was forced to read him the riot act while Mario presumably wondered what the problem was. Even boredom became weaponized. Balotelli earned a £100,000 fine for throwing darts out of a first-floor window at Manchester City's youth academy players. His explanation? "I was bored." As if boredom naturally leads to using teenagers for target practice. This was Mauro Balotelli, a man who could start forest fires in an underwater library, leaving chaos in his wake while maintaining the bewildered innocence of someone who genuinely couldn't understand why people found his behaviour unusual. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's created his own mythology where he exists as a deity among mortals. This man refers to himself in third person with the conviction of someone discussing historical facts rather than personal opinions. His most famous philosophical statement remains, "I can't help but laugh at how perfect I am." Not arrogance, just an observation of reality, according to Zlatan. During training at PSG, Zlatan would randomly karate kick teammates just for entertainment value. When coaches complained about potential injuries, he'd respond with complete sincerity. Zlatan was just testing their reflexes. He convinced an entire squad that surprise martial arts attacks were normal squad bonding activities. The peak Zlatan moment perfectly captured his relationship with reality. When he joined LA Galaxy, he took out a full-page newspaper advertisement that simply said, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." No context, no explanation, just pure gratitude instruction for a city that should feel honored by his presence. His sense of humor extended to authority figures too. During matches, he made gun gestures at opposing benches, prompting disciplinary hearings where his lawyers argued it was simply his response to provocation. The man turned arrogance into artistry and somehow made us worship him for it. While other players talked about teamwork and humility, Zlatan spoke truths about his own magnificence. The evidence supported his claims. He delivered religious experiences that justified his God complex. George Best. Football's most beautiful contradiction. Incredible talent locked in a fatal dance with self-destruction. We all know his famous quotes like, "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds and fast cars, the rest I just squandered." But the hidden stories reveal even deeper levels of self-destructive genius. Best was so naturally gifted that he'd show up to training still drunk from the previous night and nutmeg the entire defense during practice sessions. Teammates said alcohol didn't affect his feet, only his decision-making abilities.
He could play drunk better than most professionals could play sober. Off the pitch, he became football's first celebrity entrepreneur, opening the nightclub Slack Alice in Manchester that was so popular it regularly held 400 people despite having a 350 capacity. He also ran fashion boutiques, becoming a style icon who helped define the swinging 60s. His most extraordinary performance came against Northampton Town in 1970, when Best scored 6 goals in an 8-2 victory, a Manchester United record that still stands today. The performance was so dominant that afterward, with typical Best wit, he quipped, "I felt so embarrassed I played the last 20 minutes at left back." Even in his moment of greatest triumph, he found a way to make it about entertainment rather than achievement. But chaos was always lurking. He famously robbed money from a woman's handbag in an American bar to fund a drinking session, spent Christmas 1984 in prison for drunk driving and assaulting a police officer, and appeared on live BBC television so intoxicated, he told Terry Wogan his favourite hobby was bedroom activities, in a not-so-delicate way. In the end, George Best became exactly what he predicted, a man remembered for both the magic and the madness. His wit was as sharp as his left foot. If I'd been born ugly, you'd never have heard of Pelé. It wasn't vanity talking, it was painful honesty. Best understood that his devastating good looks had opened doors to a celebrity lifestyle that ultimately prevented him from reaching even greater footballing heights. The parties, the Miss Worlds, the distractions, his beauty had been both his blessing and his curse. Best is remembered not despite his flaws, but because of them. The quotes, the goals, the nightclubs, the chaos, it all formed one beautiful, tragic masterpiece of human contradiction. Erling Haaland. The Norwegian striker doesn't just break goal-scoring records, he makes a mockery of conventional sports nutrition while doing it. Haaland consumes cow hearts and livers like their breakfast cereal, claiming these organ meat delicacies are the secret to his superhuman performances. While normal people eat cereal for breakfast, Haaland is chowing down on organ meat that most restaurants won't serve. His 6,000-calorie diet would destroy most athletes, but somehow fuels his relentless energy while he treats his body like a science experiment. The weirdness goes nuclear at bedtime. Every night, this goal-scoring machine transforms into a tech-paranoid caveman. He puts on blue light-blocking glasses 3 hours before bed, tapes his mouth shut to promote nasal breathing, then systematically shuts out all electronic signals in his bedroom. His milk obsession borders on the supernatural. Haaland calls it his magic potion with complete sincerity, posting photos of himself with giant milk bottles while going through more dairy than a small village. He starts each day by getting sunlight in his eyes for his circadian rhythm, drinks specially filtered water, and uses a 50,000-pound cryo chamber for recovery. The casual way he discusses these extreme habits is perhaps most bizarre. People say meat is bad for you, but which meat? The McDonald's meat or the local cow eating grass right over there? Haaland delivers these lines while displaying animal organs like he's promoting a new restaurant chain. The results are undeniably spectacular, and may explain how he gained 12 kilograms of muscle mass in 15 months during his teenage years. His diet and habits fueled 52 goals in his first season for Manchester City. Perhaps the most revealing insight into Haaland's character comes from his notoriously brief interviews. After scoring a Champions League hat-trick, when asked how he felt, he simply replied, "I feel very good." When pressed for more details, his response was brutally honest. "You asked how I feel, I answered." This deadpan delivery isn't arrogance. It's the mindset of someone so laser-focused on goals that everything else becomes background noise. A Viking-sized striker who sleeps with footballs as girlfriends, yet systematically dismantles defenses with scientific precision. Whether on or off the field, one thing remains constant. This beautifully bizarre Norwegian continues rewriting football history and sports nutrition, one goal at a time.
Paul Gascoigne. England's mad genius turned football pitches into emotional battlefields where brilliance collided with chaos in the most public ways imaginable. This was a man who faked his own death in a motorcycle crash using tomato ketchup just to prank his Lazio teammates, then produced footballing magic that defied all logic. The Lazio adventure began with linguistic disasters and cultural chaos. Gascoigne's attempts at Italian created daily confusion, while his pranks evolved from simple jokes into elaborate schemes that left teammates questioning reality. At Newcastle, Gazza convinced the entire squad their team bus had broken down by crawling underneath and making realistic engine failure sounds, while mechanics frantically searched for problems. The trout in the bath incident at Tottenham became an urban legend. Gascoigne somehow acquired a live fish and placed it in a colleague's bathtub. The logistics boggle minds. Where does one source live trout in North London? But beneath comedy lay darker currents, making his story genuinely tragic. During alcoholism battles, teammates watched him vomit on sidelines, rinse with Coca-Cola, then produce sports artistry like it was nothing. The 1990 World Cup in Italy established Gascoigne as England's most beloved footballer, while revealing emotional fragility. His tears after receiving a yellow card, ruling him out of potential finals, became tournament-defining imagery. What made Gascoigne genuinely special wasn't just talent or madness, but authentic combination of both elements. Utterly human, flawed, vulnerable, brilliant, and completely unpredictable.
Antonio Cassano, the self-proclaimed football rock star, lived off Nutella as a professional athlete, consuming multiple jars per day, while somehow maintaining elite performances. Nutella sponsored Real Madrid and provided players with 5 kilograms of chocolate spread monthly, turning the world's most expensive teenager into football's first corporate-enabled addict. Cassano gained 14 kilograms in 7 months, eating straight from the jar with a spoon, yet still produced moments of pure magic. But Cassano's wildest public revelation elevated him to legendary status. He genuinely bragged about sleeping with 700 women before turning 25 and employed a hotel waiter friend in the most bizarre arrangement in football history. The waiter's job? Deliver pastries after every encounter, creating a romantic exchange system where Cassano traded women for desserts. When asked if this affected his performance, he responded with complete conviction, "Making love made me play great games." His lifestyle defied every principle of professional athletics. While teammates followed strict dietary protocols and sleep schedules, Cassano was busy perfecting the art of athletic rebellion through chocolate consumption and romantic marathons. At Real Madrid, he earned the nickname El Gordito, the fat one, as coaches fined him for every gram of excess weight, watching helplessly as their record signing transformed into football's most expensive glutton. This was football's ultimate paradox. A player whose talent was so extraordinary that it survived complete lifestyle anarchy. Cassano proved that genius could overcome any amount of self-destruction, turning unprofessionalism into high art while scoring goals that belonged in museums between his chocolate binges and romantic adventures. Cristiano Ronaldo. You think you know Cristiano, but his teammates reveal a much weirder side, hiding behind the perfect Instagram posts. This man has turned self-improvement into a psychological disorder that happens to produce incredible football. Ronaldo operates on a polyphasic sleep schedule that would break most humans. 5 separate 90-minute naps throughout the day instead of normal sleep. He takes ice baths and cryotherapy sessions as part of recovery routines, so extreme they intimidate his teammates. His daily regimen involves more skincare products than most pharmacies stock, taking multiple showers, and maintaining appearance standards that border on clinical obsession. But here's where his perfectionism gets genuinely disturbing. Manchester United goalkeeper Lee Grant revealed that entire teams refuse to eat dessert in front of Ronaldo because they're terrified of his silent judgment. During Friday night team dinners, nobody dared touch the apple crumble or brownies because they saw Ronaldo's cleanest, most healthy plate you can imagine. His health obsession is so extreme, it caused Coca-Cola's stock to drop $4 billion after he removed their bottles from a press conference, held up water, and said with visible disgust, "Drink water." The dedication extends beyond personal habits into teammate psychology. Former players describe feeling genuinely uncomfortable around Ronaldo's perfectionism. Not just his own standards, but the silent judgment radiating from someone whose idea of indulgence is structured recovery time. When you're that obsessed with peak performance, weird becomes your baseline normal, and everyone around you starts questioning whether eating birthday cake makes them weak. Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi looks perfectly calm and confident, right? Wrong. The greatest footballer who ever lived has one of the sport's most closely guarded secrets. He used to vomit during matches from nerves and anxiety, particularly when representing Argentina. From 2011 to 2014, Messi would throw up from stress during crucial games. It's true. The world's most naturally gifted player running behind advertising boards to puke from pressure, then returning to produce moments of pure genius. Argentina's coach Alejandro Sabella confirmed it was nerves and anxiety more than anything. Messi himself admitted his terrible eating habits made it worse. For many years, I ate almost everything: chocolate, soft drinks. For these reasons too, I vomited on the field. So let's unpack what Messi just casually revealed there. While other athletes like Ronaldo obsess over nutrition like it's life or death, the greatest footballer in history was literally powered by chocolate and soft drinks, and somehow producing superhuman performances. Think about this: he's walking around the pitch for 80% of every match, scanning and conserving energy, because he's running on sugar crashes and chocolate-induced nausea. Then he explodes into superhuman brilliance for 30 seconds and changes entire games. His eating habits was partly a child's birthday party menu, yet his football brain was so advanced it compensated for the biological handicaps that he inflicted on himself through his diet. The backstory gets even more surreal. As a child, he needed growth hormone injections every single night from age 11. His family couldn't afford the $900 to $1,500 monthly treatment until Barcelona signed him and paid for his medical intervention. The most naturally gifted footballer in history was literally built with pharmaceutical assistance, then spent years throwing up before matches due to overwhelming pressure. Here's the life lesson that makes Messi's story so powerful. If the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner, a man who makes the impossible look effortless, gets nervous enough to vomit before big games, then anxiety is just part of being human. It doesn't matter if you're facing a World Cup final or a job interview. Nerves don't disqualify you from greatness. Messi's genius wasn't despite his anxiety, but alongside it. He showed the world that you can feel sick with worry and still perform miracles.
Thomas Muller. The German created his own position, Raumdeuter, or space interpreter, because he was too weird for conventional tactical categories. This man exists in football's uncanny valley. His press conferences became legendary for surreal content that challenged journalists' sanity. After Bayern's historic 8-2 demolition of Barcelona, where Lewandowski scored his 14th Champions League goal of the season and Muller himself bagged 2 goals, the German stepped up to the post-match microphone and delivered what he clearly thought was comedic gold.
And we have Robert Lewandowski. You know, Robert Lewandowski.
The room's deathly silence said everything. This is a man who genuinely believed his wordplay was brilliant, standing there with complete conviction while professional journalists questioned their life choices. He earned the nickname Radio Muller from Bayern assistant coach Hermann Gerland because he never stops providing live commentary during matches. Former teammates describe constant narration. "Oh, nice pass. Now I'm running. Defender looks tired. Goal incoming." All while scoring consistently and maintaining a stream of consciousness broadcast that would exhaust professional commentators. His unrelenting on-field communication became so notorious that Bayern Munich created compilation videos of his best soundbites. But perhaps nothing captures Muller's bizarre relationship with reality better than when a journalist asked him about teammate Alphonso Davies' blistering pace.
He gets the opponent when you think, oh, I have time, and then meep, the Roadrunner, the FC Bayern Roadrunner comes ahead and steal the ball.
Bayern Munich created compilation videos of his best soundbites because his constant chatter during matches became part of the entertainment. This absolute character has won everything in football while maintaining the psychological profile of someone who genuinely believes he can interpret invisible dimensions of space that exist only in his mind. He created an entirely new position in football, named it himself, and somehow convinced the world's biggest clubs
it was tactically revolutionary.
Lord Bendtner. Nicklas Bendtner possessed football's rarest combination: unlimited self-confidence married to limited ability. While scoring 45 goals in 171 Arsenal appearances across 9 seasons, he maintained unwavering belief in his destiny as world football's greatest striker. His delusions weren't subtle. They were bold public declarations defying all statistical evidence. Bendtner would discuss future Ballon d'Or victories with the same certainty others use for tomorrow's weather. The 2012 European Championship transformed him into an international cult hero after scoring against Portugal, celebrating by revealing underwear emblazoned with Paddy Power's betting logo. UEFA's €100,000 fine was shrugged off like a parking ticket, and the Irish bookmaker happily paid it. But the legendary Copenhagen pizzeria incident captures Bendtner's relationship with reality perfectly. Picture Denmark's self-proclaimed future Ballon d'Or winner stumbling into a pizza shop, credit cards mysteriously declined, shouting, "Don't you know who I am? I can buy this whole pizzeria," while simultaneously being unable to afford a single slice. Staff politely refused free food demands, forcing the Great Dane to beg other customers for meal money. 2 sympathetic girls eventually funded his late-night nutrition, completing one of football's most perfect metaphors. The Lord Bendtner nickname emerged from his relationship with Danish Baroness Caroline Ewell Brockdorff, worth approximately £400 million. Even romance reinforced grandiosity delusions. Why date normal people when you can court actual nobility? Their whirlwind relationship produced a son but ended after just 7 weeks, proving even aristocratic love couldn't survive Bendtner's ego. Beyond pizza begging lies an even more bizarre incident, confirmed by multiple Danish newspapers. Bendtner drunkenly rubbed himself against a Copenhagen taxi while whipping it with his belt, shouting threats at the horrified driver. The cabbie, with 25 years' experience handling drunk passengers, called it the most disturbing behavior he'd ever witnessed. What made Bendtner genuinely endearing was complete absence of self-awareness, combined with childlike enthusiasm for his own potential.
Fabien Barthez, Le Divin Chauve, the Divine Bald One, had the strangest pre-match ritual in football, though it wasn't his idea. Before every single game during France's 1998 World Cup triumph, defender Laurent Blanc would kiss Barthez's shiny bald head for good luck. Not a handshake, not a hug, a full kiss on the scalp. The ritual worked so well that France won their first ever World Cup. But Barthez's genuine weirdness ran much deeper than superstitious teammates. Known for his eccentric personality, he always wore red briefs underneath his goalkeeping shorts and cut off the sleeves of his jerseys. Most goalkeepers wear number 1. Barthez chose 16 instead. He practiced Zen Buddhism while chain-smoking cigarettes, creating the most contradictory lifestyle imaginable. His most controversial moments came from pure recklessness rather than supernatural beliefs. At Manchester United, he'd attempt step-overs and nutmegs against opposing strikers, taunting them with elaborate footwork. During one infamous match against Leeds, he deliberately kicked Ian Hart after dropping a cross, conceding a penalty, then saved it with typical flair. The Frenchman was so confident in his outfield abilities that he constantly pestered Sir Alex Ferguson to let him play as a striker. Ferguson finally caved during a 2001 pre-season friendly against Singapore, subbing off Ruud van Nistelrooy for Barthez with 10 minutes remaining. "He's been pestering me for ages," Ferguson admitted. "I just thank God he didn't score because we never would have got him back in goal." Somehow this absolute lunatic won the World Cup, European Championship and Champions League while pioneering the sweeper-keeper role decades before it became fashionable. Maybe kissing bald heads really does work, or maybe talent can overcome any amount of psychological chaos.
John O'Shea. Your average Sunday League player who accidentally wandered into the Premier League through some administrative error. This man achieved the impossible through sheer weirdness and supernatural luck that defied football physics. In February 2005, O'Shea produced one of football's most unlikely moments of brilliance. He chipped Manuel Almunia at Highbury with such outrageous audacity that his celebration became the stuff of legend. O'Shea looked just as shocked as everyone else in the stadium. His surprised expression, arms half raised in confused celebration, perfectly captured the moment. The same player who looked perpetually confused
had somehow channeled pure footballing art through cosmic accident, sealing Manchester United's 4-2 victory over Arsenal in the dying moments. But the O'Shea moment that broke football's fundamental laws happened during a Champions League clash with Real Madrid in 2003. He nutmegged Luis Figo, a Ballon d'Or winner and Portuguese legend who'd humiliated defenders across Europe for decades. Picture one of football's greatest ever players being destroyed by someone who looked like he'd won a competition to train with Manchester United for a day. The peak weirdness occurred when Edwin van der Sar got injured against Tottenham in February 2007. Sir Alex Ferguson, in a moment of tactical madness, put O'Shea in goal for the final 5 minutes. This outfield player kept a clean sheet, saving a one-on-one against Robbie Keane with the casual confidence of someone who'd been accidentally excellent his entire career. United were already 4-0 up, but O'Shea's supernatural goalkeeping still had Wayne Rooney in hysterics on the bench. O'Shea's versatility was perhaps the secret weapon of United's success during their dominant era. While he wasn't particularly exceptional at any single position, his ability to fill gaps everywhere, from emergency striker to goalkeeper to any defensive role, gave Ferguson tactical flexibility that few managers could dream of. Sometimes football's greatest mysteries can't be explained by tactics or talent, but by having someone willing to do absolutely anything, anywhere, anytime.
Guti. So naturally talented, he made laziness look like sophisticated tactical philosophy. This Real Madrid midfielder became the poster boy for unfulfilled potential, yet somehow spent 15 years at the Bernabeu because his passing ability approached supernatural levels. Teammates and coaches called him the ultimate enigma, a player who'd go missing for days at a time, his whereabouts unknown to Real Madrid's staff, prompting official injury announcements to cover his unauthorized absences. Former players Steve McManaman and Michael Owen agreed he was the vainest player they'd ever encountered, complete with a mirror positioned right next to his dressing room space for constant grooming sessions. The most legendary Guti story involves Fabio Capello's training test. The Italian manager deliberately arrived 15 minutes late to see if players would follow orders to wait in the center circle. When Capello finally appeared, he found every player standing obediently in position, except Guti, who was sheltering from the Spanish sun in the dugout, apparently unbothered by concepts like punctuality or authority. During his final Madrid season, Guti was already planning retirement to a Thai beach while still pulling off outrageous back heels in crucial matches. His passing range remained so exceptional that Real Madrid's hierarchy tolerated behavior that would get normal players sold immediately. The man was a living paradox, naturally gifted enough to create moments of pure magic, yet so professionally unreliable that Spain only gave him 13 caps across his entire career. Guti had discovered football's ultimate cheat code: be so talented that laziness becomes charming rather than problematic. His legacy remains Real Madrid's eternal promise, brilliant enough to frustrate you with what could have been.
Thomas Gravesen. Real Madrid signed this bald Danish midfielder thinking they were getting muscle for their Galactico project. What they actually got was a human wrecking ball with zero filter and even less chill. Gravesen's first training session at Madrid became legendary for all the wrong reasons. He went in so hard on Ronaldo, yes, that Ronaldo, that the Brazilian legend walked away missing a tooth. Not during a match, during practice, with his own teammate. The incident wasn't some heat-of-the-moment collision either. Gravesen had already earned a reputation for treating training like warfare. Ask Robinho, who had to be physically restrained after another Gravesen challenge crossed every line imaginable. Ronaldo later called Gravesen one of the worst teammates he'd ever had, labeling him a joke on the field. Though he did admit the guy was surprisingly cool off the pitch, apparently cleaning up at poker games while his teammates nursed their bruises. Here's the thing about Gravesen. He wasn't just aggressive, he was completely unpredictable. One moment he'd pull off something brilliant, the next he'd nearly hospitalize a Ballon d'Or winner during a passing drill. His teammates described him as a bomb about to explode, which is exactly what you want to hear about the guy standing next to you in the team photo. While Zidane and Beckham were crafting poetry with their feet, Gravesen was writing horror stories. He seemed convinced that even the most technical team in world football
needed someone willing to remind everyone that football was still, fundamentally, about winning battles. Madrid got their enforcer. They just forgot to specify they wanted one who could tell the difference between training and actual combat. Emmanuel Adebayor. Emmanuel Adebayor turned club hopping into a career strategy, bouncing between teams while leaving a trail of controversies at every stop. The Arsenal betrayal remains his masterpiece of sporting drama. After forcing a move from Arsenal to Manchester City, Adebayor celebrated scoring against his former club by sprinting the entire length of the pitch to perform a knee-sliding celebration directly in front of Arsenal fans. This wasn't just a goal celebration. This was a statement choreographed for maximum emotional damage. But Adebayor's wildest controversies happened off the pitch. When he tried building a family football dynasty by getting his brother Rotimi into a French academy, the kid managed to steal 21 phones from 27 players within months. Imagine that phone call to the academy directors. Even more bizarre was his public war with his own family over witchcraft. Adebayor genuinely believed his mother was practicing juju, West African voodoo, to curse his goal-scoring ability. He kicked her out of her home, forcing her to sell tomatoes for £1 a day, and accused his entire family of using witchcraft to sabotage his career. This £170,000 a week footballer was blaming his poor form on his mother's alleged supernatural powers. The family drama exploded into a public Facebook rant where Adebayor detailed relatives exploiting him for money with elaborate sob stories, turning family gatherings into business negotiations. He had to hire security to protect himself from his own extended family. His agent became football's busiest man, somehow securing Adebayor moves to elite clubs, even when he was clearly past his prime. From Arsenal to City, to Tottenham to Real Madrid, his career read like a mercenary's dream CV, collecting paychecks and controversies across Europe's top leagues. If you like this video, there's plenty more football chaos where that came from. Subscribe and drop a comment telling me which unhinged players you want a deep dive on next.